All right, today we're zeroing in on one company, BitMine, and one single event that sources are saying could completely change everything for them. We're talking about a ticking clock, a 30-day window that might just redefine how all of Wall Street gets into digital assets. Let's really dig into what's on the line here.
So this is the phrase that institutional sources are throwing around. And look, it sounds super dramatic for a reason. A binary event horizon isn't some gradual shift. It is a hard line in the sand. It completely separates the company's past from its future. Before this event, BitMine is one thing. After, it's something totally different. And there's no going back.
And that event horizon? It has a date. Forget the day-to-day price noise. The smart money, according to our sources, is looking at one thing and one thing only, the calendar. Specifically, January 15th, 2026. That is the only date that matters right now, and it is just 30 days away. We are officially in the final window. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with why that January 15th date is so critical. Then we'll unpack the huge trillion-dollar problem that MAVEN is built to solve for Wall Street. We'll get into what MAVEN actually is, break down the massive financial repricing that could happen, and finally talk strategy for these last 30 days. The whole story here is about a massive transformation. For years, everybody's looked at BitMine as a speculative crypto miner, a business that's completely tied to the crazy price swings of a digital commodity. The thesis is that on January 15th, it just sheds that old skin and becomes a stable, must-have financial utility. And check out the venue, the Wynn in Las Vegas. That's a signal. This isn't some stuffy crypto conference. Holding it at the Wynn is a direct message to the highest levels of finance. Sources aren't even calling it a launch event, they're calling it a coronation. That's a huge deal. It implies they've already arrived. And when you hear the expected guest list, bigwigs from BlackRock, regulators, people from sovereign wealth funds, you know they're not there for a sales pitch. They're there to see the birth of the very infrastructure they've been waiting for. Now, to really get why MAVEN is so important, we have to talk about the giant problem it solves. You've got these trillion-dollar asset managers just itching to get into digital assets, specifically on the Ethereum network. But right now, they're stopped dead in their tracks by what's being called the Great Wall of Compliance. So this is the million-dollar question, or I guess the trillion-dollar question. Ethereum is public, it's out there, it works. Why can't a massive firm like BlackRock just plug in and start using it? Well, the answer comes down to one absolutely critical, can't mess this up kind of risk. And that risk is called OFAC, the U.S. Treasury's sanctions police. For a big regulated U.S. bank, doing business, even by total accident, with someone on the OFAC sanctions list isn't just bad, it's catastrophic. We're talking massive fines, wrecked reputations, the whole 9 yards. And on a public network where anyone can play, there's just no way to know who's on the other side of a transaction.
This chart just nails the conflict, doesn't it? On one side, you have public Ethereum, a total regulatory minefield for a bank. And on the other, you have what the institutions absolutely need, a closed, totally compliant system. Every single person has to be vetted and verified to guarantee zero sanctions risk. On this point, there is zero room for negotiation. And this is where MAVEN steps onto the stage. It's not just another crypto product. It's built from the ground up to be the one specific solution to this trillion-dollar compliance headache. It's designed to be the only way for these guys to get what they need. I just love this analogy from the source material because it's so perfect. MAVEN is the only bridge. So if you've got trillions of dollars on one side of a river and the entire future of finance on the Ethereum network is on the other side, well, you got to pay the toll to cross this bridge. There's just no other way to get there. So what is the valuable thing MAVEN actually creates? Think of it as selling exclusive compliant real estate on the blockchain. Sources are calling it compliant block space. It's basically a walled garden built right on top of Ethereum's public roads. Inside that garden, every single person is known, vetted, and compliant. For a bank, that's not just a feature, it's everything. It's safety. It's the green light they've been waiting years for. Okay, so solving a problem this big has some pretty massive financial implications. It sets the stage for what's being called the Great Repricing event, that moment when the market is forced to completely reevaluate what BitMine actually is. I mean, look at this shift. It is night and day. Before MAVEN, BitMine's a miner. Its money is tied to the crazy price of crypto, a business Wall Street sees as super speculative.
After MAVEN is live, the money comes from stable, predictable transaction fees. It's no longer a miner, it's an infrastructure utility seen as stable and essential. And how does Wall Street value these two different kinds of companies? Well, the difference is a canyon. A speculative miner might get a price-to-earnings multiple of, say, 2.5, but an essential utility, think Visa or an energy pipeline, can trade at a multiple of 25 times earnings, sometimes even higher. So that leap in the multiple from 2.5 up to 25, that's the math that implies a potential 10x increase in the stock's value. This isn't about the company suddenly making 10 times more profit overnight. It's about the market finally recognizing the quality of the earnings. It's a fundamental re-rating of the whole company.
But, and this is a big but, this re-rating doesn't just happen on its own. The big pension funds, they can't buy based on a rumor. They need cold, hard proof. They have a non-negotiable checklist, and on January 15th, they need to see 3 things. An official press release saying MAVEN is live, a signed contract with a huge anchor client like a BlackRock, and a live demo they can see working with their own 2 eyes. If those 3 boxes get checked, the dam of compliance finally breaks.
And that brings us to the end game, these final 30 days. This period, the anxiety zone, as sources call it, is all about psychology and strategy. It's designed to shake out anyone who doesn't have true conviction before the main event. You have to expect some serious volatility. The short sellers, the people betting against BitMine, they know that if MAVEN works, their whole argument is toast. So this is their last chance to create fear and scare regular investors into selling their shares cheap. All the fear, uncertainty, and doubt you're going to see, it's being framed as the final thrashing of a dying bear thesis. It's a psychological game. And on the other side of that fight, the expectation is that BitMine is going to use its massive billion-dollar war chest to launch a double squeeze. First, a huge share buyback, just sucking up the available supply of stock right when institutional demand is about to hit. And second, a strategic acquisition to make their business even stronger. It's a 1-2 punch of financial and fundamental pressure designed to trap anyone left betting against them.
So what's the key takeaway for these next 30 days? First, be prepared. Know exactly why you're in this and have the conviction to ride out the coming anxiety. Second, just ignore the daily price noise. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the calendar. And finally, understand what the thesis really is. You don't own a lottery ticket here. You own a piece of what could be foundational financial plumbing, and you own it before the rest of the world has even bought their ticket. And that leaves us with one last really provocative question. If all of this plays out, are we just watching a product launch? Or are we watching the creation of something much, much bigger? A private company that essentially controls the compliant highway for trillions of dollars. That kind of power goes way beyond just corporate profits. It starts to become about financial control, national security, and even geopolitical influence. It's definitely something to think about as we all watch that clock tick down to 0.